Hello, all. Garland Nixon here. And, people use the term new media, alternative media, whatever the case may be. I have Daria Pick here. She has a fresh news site called, or YouTube channel called Points News. And we're going to talk about that and talk about new media. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, and welcome back. Another great episode, and something that's very important, a discussion that's very important right now, and I think that is what's happening with new media. We see some traditional. I'm trying to let me get Daria's site up. We see some traditional, not just some, a lot of the traditional media outlets starting to collapse. They're collapsing because of a lack of trust, because people feel as though they've been lied to, they've been misled, hoodwinked, led astray, all that kind of stuff. And now people are out actually searching for other options. I think it is a dynamic time, but it's also a difficult time for people who are involved in new media, because you have the powers that be trying to tamp new media down, censor new media, etc. So, Daria Pick, let me show you somehow, if I can ever figure this out here. Yeah, there we go. That's the first problem with new media. You got old zombies like me trying to figure out how the heck to do this. Okay, here we go. Look at this. So this is Points News, a platform for free people. Well, I live in the United States, so I guess it's not a platform for me because I'm not free. But mentally, I'm free, though physically, I maybe find myself in great bondage. All right, so there we go. And we look on here. We've got a nice color scheme. We have some graphics and things like that. So, and what I find interesting, I think that's great here. We've got the color scheme here for Points News, and then for a number of the videos. That's a great one right there. Look at that. We actually have the color scheme. I think that's something that's very smart to come up with a color scheme, to come up with like some graphics, and to utilize that in your day-to-day work. All right, Daria Pick, let's get started. Let's talk about this new media business. Throw some questions at you. I have my thoughts on why people are moving to whatever we're going to call it. We're going to call it alternative media. So many people are going to alternative media. What do you think? Why do you think so many people are moving towards alternative media, and of course away from the traditional institutional outlets, the BBC, CNN, on and on?
Well, the answer is simple, actually, because the main reason is trust. What we see is that in any country, state-run media are often geared toward propaganda in some form, so to serve interests of government, right? So, and this creates a strong need to create an alternative and independent media to offer different perspectives. That's what we have on our channel. A lot of different perspectives. Of course, there will be moments with these views align with those of official media. It's because we can't be like completely alternative, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the objectivity is the goal for any responsible journalist.
Now, let me ask you this. You mentioned something that I hadn't thought about, and that is, there are the differences between alternative media and traditional media, but what similarities are there? Now, which brings an obvious question. There are two issues: what you report on, and then how you report on it, right? Do you think that alternative media, in your opinion, I know you consume a lot of alternative media online. Do you like it better, or let me throw this at you. there are two things. Alternative media, some of the same stories um, that the traditional media reports on, right? And then the other issue is would be stories that traditional media will just like pretend that it didn't happen, right? Like for instance, Nord Stream, right? Okay, Nord Stream gets blown up, and alternative media for like days there was like much of nothing. You know what I mean? It was like, well, gee, this is a big deal. How come they're not? They would just say, oh yeah, we don't know who did it. Looks like it blew up. So now let's get back to the weather. And everybody's like, that's a big deal. And on the alternative media, everybody was reporting on that. So your thoughts on what people in alternative media report? What attracts you? Do you like to go and see the same stories that the media is reporting on, different stories, or does it even matter?
It does matter. How I do it, I'm analyzing the all information that it's there. Um, I search for different, actually, traditional media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm searching and analyzing how they present the news and what's their main messages are,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps me to share with my audience my worldview
Mm-hmm.
through those news.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also think this. I think it's important, and people will. So one of the things that freaks people out about me is I'll bring on people that I don't agree with, or bring on people that I don't agree with, or bring on. Frederick Douglass had a famous saying: "I'll ally with any man for good, and no man for evil." Right? And one of the things that I think is important about new media is that people who disagree can, like on 90 things, 99 things, but if they agree on one thing, they can talk about that one thing that they agree on. I know people who are like very conservative people, and they're like, "Oh, but I disagree with you on all this stuff," right? But let's say it's Nord Stream and we agree, or some war or something we agree on. I think that's different. Do you think that that's different from traditional media as far as not being people being able to talk to people they disagree with and things like that? What are your thoughts on that?
It's different because the traditional media, they don't let people to express their thoughts
Mm-hmm.
as they want it to be heard, actually. And discussions, yeah, we're craving discussions. That's
Mm-hmm.
the important part, actually, where people are discussing, sharing thoughts. Something's going in their minds when they're discussing. They're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's saying something smart, something new for me, for my perspective. Because all I see is on traditional media is some fake news, right? So, and it's really hard to trust in our world to any of media traditional. Like, we don't know if it's true or not. It's really difficult. And alternative media, that's actually a good thing that lets people to express their thoughts and learn more from
Mm-hmm.
other perspectives. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure if that's the good
No, that's
answer for you.
perfect. And I think part of it, one of the words that you brought up was important, a discussion. When I turn on whatever, the BBC or CNN or something, right? I don't feel like the people there are having a discussion. I feel like the people in charge have said you can talk about certain things. You know what I mean? Like they're not just sitting there thinking to themselves, gee, this is how I feel about this or that. That they know the people who pay them are saying, you have to take, the government has decided that these people over here, these are the bad guys or these are the good guys. And this is what happened. And you can't have a discussion. If somebody on the BBC or CNN is listening to something and they think, well, I think the government's lying to us, they can't say that. They have to say, oh yeah, one thing for sure,
Yeah,
those whoever's lying, and can you, things like this, can you, I'll never forget this. I'll never, during the Trump administration.
they
So,
don't.
oh, go ahead, go ahead, go
Sorry,
ahead. I'm listening.
they don't let people talk. Yeah, what they're doing is, like I said, the propaganda of the interest of the government. They're not. They're pushing their worldview. Like, this is what you have to know. This is how you need to think. Like, I had a post on my Facebook group, Points News, about Zombite by social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really what's happening. Like, we don't have to let them to zombite us, because it's like, it's crazy. And it's easy to do for them when people, they don't want to think, consider, they don't want to search for something new. They don't, when they do, they, sorry, a little bit nervous.
No.
When they don't act like it, like that, it's easy for them to be zombied by the social media. And they have to search, analyze, consider, is that true, or maybe it's they're fooling me. So I have to look at some other media, and compare those news.
Yeah, that's another thing as far as looking at other media comparing. When it comes to mainstream news, you have, usually in US, you got the big ones, CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. And you go to another one, they may just have BBC. You're going to go to Deutsche Welle, whatever, right? They have one, two, three, maybe. Okay. In alternative media, you can look around until you find a channel that you like. Or you can look around and you may find, for instance, Points News. You may have a interview and nobody's ever heard of you, and they flip it around and they're like, oh, wow, that's a great interview. I'll watch that. You know what I mean? What's different is people get a lot of options. You know what I mean? They can look until they find something that they, for whatever reason, they're attracted to that particular channel. Now, let me ask you this. And let's you and I talk. I'll start, right? If your top channels, we're gonna go with our top channels, right? I'm gonna tell you my top channel, and I'll tell you why. I would have to say the Duran, Alexander McCourse, and I tell you why. Because two reasons. Number one, he's a smart guy. A couple of reasons. Number one, he seems like he's very bright. He seems genuine and honest, like he really believes what he's saying. He's extreme. He has a great a tremendous vocabulary. His ability to express what he's saying in a way that you can understand it, right? So here's a person who's bright, who seems like they're honest, and who is really good at speaking and saying what, just in a way that you understand it, right? So I turn on there and I feel like when I watch the Duran, he's going to do a couple of things. He's going to tell me what's going on. He'll say, well, here's the latest update on the battlefield in Ukraine, or what's going on in Syria. So he'll tell me, I can watch that. And it's like watching the news, because he'll fill me in with what's going on. And I feel after I watch a show on the Duran that I've learned something. And that the person, even if Alexander McCourse is wrong about something, or I disagree with him, I truly believe that he's genuine trying to tell me the truth. So my top show is the Duran, and that's why. What is your top show, your top alternative media show, and why?
That's a good question.
Doesn't have to be the number one, but one that you really, really like.
I don't have any specific alternative media, but I love your channel. I love it. And it's really, I can say, yeah, your channel is really great. One of the most, when you were talking about your favorite channel about Alexander, it was like you were describing your channel. Like, yeah, I see your channel as there's a wise man trying to tell the truth to people, and they actually adore you and listen to you, and they're interested in your interviews. But I don't have specific alternative media. Like, instead of that, I search a lot of them. There's really like a lot of alternative media, and they all have something good in it. They're not bad. They all have some good things, good stuff on.
Yeah, I can say, for instance, there's a guy named Emil Cosman, right? And he puts out a lot of stuff. And I really like Emil Cosman's, he's I think originally from Romania, and he said some stuff that I disagree with. You know what I mean? He calls people communist all the time, and oh, geez, I just laugh. Um, but just because he says something here and there that I disagree with doesn't mean it's not a good channel. And what I like about Emil's channel is he's kind of funny. And again, and I think this is a recurring thing. I always feel like I've learned something. That like there's a story, there's an article. I'll tell you what Emil does that I like. There's articles that the mainstream media won't cover. And he covers a lot of art. I think that's what it is. It's a channel that covers a lot of articles, a lot of things that the mainstream media is not going to talk about. I think I think that's a lot. Let me ask you that, something that you try to do on your channel, or do you focus on like bringing on people or getting a story, an issue or a story that people aren't talking about? What do you think is more important to you?
All right, moving a little bit back to answering your question about favorite channel, but I can say I do have a famous figures that I like to watch and I follow them on the social media is Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. I truly love his thoughts, and I follow him on Twitter, the mm-hmm. X, right now it's X, and maybe and Pavel Durov mm-hmm. on Telegram. Yeah, I think they're good people. About what was the next question?
Well, let me do this. So let me ask you this: do you think that because I guess the question would be like this: as a person, do you feel like alternative media has affected your life? How has it affected your perspective on things out here? You know what I mean? I mean, with me, definitely alternative media has affected my life because I've learned a lot of things that I wouldn't learn. I've heard a lot of people from different parts of the world that I would never have ever known what people in that part of the world think. And I watch that and I'm like, oh, okay. There's a guy named Regis Tremblay. He's an American and he lives in Crimea. And I watch whenever Regis does stuff. I go on his channel every now and then. But I learn this is what's going on in Crimea, and this is what the people there think. And he's an American, and you know what I mean?
You're frozen.
Uh-oh. How about now? Can you see me?
All right, reconnecting.
Okay.
You're breaking up right now. You're okay.
Okay, but so alternative media, how's it affected you and your perspective on international events?
Well, that's a good question. It did affect me because it changes your thinking. Like you analyzing. I love analyzing different platforms, different perspectives, and it affects me because it's a hope for a good stuff on the internet, because like I said, there's no trust to traditional social media. And about Points News, we cover we're not original alternative media. We cover a lot of worldwide topics. We have, I think it's some people say that's too much. How you do, that's a lot of topics you have to cover, because it's not only the interviews, it's also not only interviews with activists, with experts like you or Dan Kovalik and other people. It's also interviews with actors, producers. We dive in the film industry. And it's also poems we have on our channel. We have motivational videos because we want to support people and fight against depression. It's also our goal to support people. Our goal is peace. Yeah, it sounds crazy because in our world, governments, they actually don't think like that. I wish that they could sit down and to a negotiation table and discuss that there's no war need. Why do kill and fight? Why? The world is always was in a verge of fighting and wars, endless wars. We have to be more conscious and live in harmony. That's my position, because I think that's the right solution. But it sounds like crazy. It's crazy. It sounds unbelievable. So actually everything is simple. Like, sit down and talk. No need in nuclear war. No need in conflicts. We have to um, we have to talk. We have to learn how to talk, people, like everyone. And I hope that the Points News platform is going to be a bridge between different countries, different cultural people, to share perspectives, to share views, to share our culture. So it's the bridge. And thanks to the internet, there's a good thing about it, that we can do this online. Like, you're in one country, I'm in another country. And that's the bridge. That's the good thing. Um, so that's what we have to do right now. That's all we can do on our end. We have to talk. We have to create this bridge, because government, they don't let us to create this bridge. Like, we can't be able to travel for free to any country we want, to share with people, to talk with people, to have some more friends in other countries, and and just talk, just have fun and share. And that's what this world needs: more peace, more kindness, more humanity.
So you've been how a couple of things. How long have you been had your channel Points News, and what was it that got you into it? What was it that made you think, I think I want my own channel? Because, there are a lot of people who watch alternative news, but they would never do it. And as when you first started here, I could see you're getting more comfortable. You were nervous. People get nervous in front of the camera, and a lot of people are so nervous. They'd like, oh, I could never, ever do a YouTube show because I'd be afraid. I'd be too nervous. I'd be afraid I was going to make a mistake. And as I've told people all my life, when people say someone is brave, and I said, what is the definition of brave? It's the definition to me of brave is being scared and being nervous, but doing it anyway. Everybody's scared and nervous, but some people won't do it anyway. And I could tell when I talked, you were a bit nervous, but you're kind of relaxing. What was it that gave you that, it's going to be, I'm just going to be kind of nervous, but I'm going to do it anyway. How did you, come about, like, hey, I think I'm going to do a YouTube channel. I think I'm going to do alternative media. How did that arise with you?
Answering your first question, our project is on the social media for, I think, 1 year, something
Okay.
like that, maybe more, a little bit more, but not more than 1 year, 1.5. And when we started, it was like, it's me and my friend, Alexander. We started this project. What drive us to do that? I think it was like idea, like what we can do. Like, we sit here, we watch the media, we watch all those news. I'm really an emotional person, actually. Like, when I see all those conflicts and wars, I can't stand it. It's like, it's so heartbreaking. I see people struggling, and it makes me feel really sad. And our thoughts were like, what can we do about it? Is there any step that we can start towards to the peaceful world? And we created this channel, this project, because it's really important to us. We have this kindness and love to people, for all people in the world. And yeah, it's just a step. It's a hard step. It was really hard. It's like really difficult to start from the beginning. We're independent, nonprofit. We have to do all that work, and it's really difficult. I won't say that it's really easy, we're having fun. No, it's really, like, it's tough. But it's given us a hope that this project is going to be something more than just a project about peace. Like, it's gonna unite people from all over the world. Unite, that's the goal. Unite and peace. I think what can be more important than that? Like really, what's more important? What I can, of course, I could create a profile and just download a really funny videos or like dancing. Yeah, that's all really fun and entertainment for people. But no, we should create something more useful, more helpful, because that's the only way that what I can do. I can go and stop governments to keep making those decisions towards war, right? I can't do that. So what can I do? I can start from a little by little, like from one little step. Create a project. Let's start there. Let's see where it goes. Maybe it could really work. So that's where we began. That's our path, I would say. And we're going to work. We're not going to give up. Of course, there was some moments when we were like, oh, it's not working. People don't care about it. People don't listen. Like, all right, we should give up. We should give up. It's hard. It's difficult. It needs a lot of time. But no, we never give up. We're moving only forward towards peaceful world. We want to unite people from really like different countries and
Well, let me
share
say this.
with other perspectives, right?
Yeah, let me say this. I'll say this, and that is, I commend you for this reason. When I was your age, the only thing I was doing was drinking beer and going to bars and hanging out and partying and just crazy stuff, right? Life was just, it's everything's fun. But I didn't realize that there were serious things out there, and I wasn't motivated to try to make it. The last thing on my mind when I was in my 20s, the last thing in my mind was going out to change the world. I was like, hey, where are we going out this weekend? Where are the parties? Where's the hangout? Where's the nightclubs or the bars or wherever we're going, right? And so I commend you that, you're like getting started and you're really doing important things. And I think what happens is you learn. The longer you do this, you learn. And the more that you are exposed through your work to various people. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like when you interview, I mean, like, for instance, you've interviewed Dan Kovalik and a lot of different really bright people that have traveled all over the world. Do you feel like you as an interviewer, do you feel like you learn a lot from the people yourselves rather than just the person watching the video, that you're actually learning yourself things?
Yeah, sure. That's really exciting part. Like I love speaking to people from different countries and different kind of people, experts and just activists that stand in for peace. Well, yeah, they inspire me. They inspire me. The conversations, they motivate me to move on. And it feels great.
Do you think that at some point, and this is a big question, so we have traditional media, which seems to be dying, right? And as it dies, alternative media is rising. It's almost like people are leaving over here and they're going over to there, right? Do you think that alternative media will replace traditional media? Or in a way, do we need traditional media to be there? You know what I mean? So people have something to look at and say, oh, let me turn on the BBC. Oh my God, that's horrible. Let me check out Points News and Garland Nixon to get some, you know what I mean? Do you think we'll replace them? Do you think it's necessary that they're there so that people can see the difference?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah. Well, let's start with that. Do you think alternative media will eventually replace traditional media or not?
I think it's possible. It's possible. As people, they're not blind, right? They see what's happening, what's going on with all this traditional media, and it's just they're dying because there's no trust. Like I said, like how we can trust you? They will die eventually. I think alternative media is more better because people are they can be confident about it. Like we hear from other people's, like we can interview, like, okay, let's take an example. For example, um, take an activist from Africa, China, I don't know, other country, where, or from Canada or somewhere where something's going on, like a conflict or some situation, and we interview him, and he's telling us the truth, what's going on, because he saw that with his eyes. He knows what's going on. He can tell us the truth. When the traditional media, they don't do that. They can hide something. Like, no, people doesn't need to know that. No, we're gonna hide that because they're um, they're serving the interest of government, and we are serving the interest of all people, not governments, right? So that's the difference.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that one of the things we're going to have to watch out for, because your point is important, and that is traditional media serves the it serves two things: either governments or some rich people that own, some combination thereof. And unfortunately, oftentimes the rich people own the government. So some oligarch owns the government, and so the media is really serving both. But I think that something we're going to have to watch out for, and I see this already. I see some of these people trying to like be, as we say here in the U.S., neither fish nor fowl. In other words, yes, I'm not traditional media, but I'm not alternative media either. Or they're traditional media people and they're pushing all the stuff that the government wants, but they try to pretend like there's some kind of alternative media to fool people. You know what I mean? And that's the other
Yeah,
thing I think people have to
I get
watch
that.
out for. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, that's actually a tough one. Like how we will understand that it's not, that they're fake, that they're fooling you. That's a good question, actually. Well, I think in at this point, people should just really discover and search and analyze it much better. Like, and I don't know, it's really a tough one. Like, but I hope that there's more good alternative media than the traditional media covering under the cover alternative media. Um, pretending like an alternative media. I hope that there's not much of that, because that's gonna be tough. That's gonna how we're gonna fight them.
Well, what you said is important too, and that is, and this is, I think, a critical part of our discussion. You said that people analyze, right, for themselves. I think that's a big difference between alternative media and traditional media. I remember when on CNN, when WikiLeaks released some information that they had, right, some
Yeah.
emails or something they had gotten from someone, and I was watching CNN, and they said, "Don't read those. We'll read them for you, and then we'll tell you what's in them." Right? Traditional media actually argues against exactly what you said. Traditional media says, don't analyze, don't think, don't try to figure it out. We'll tell you what to think. We'll tell you how to understand it. We'll tell you what you shouldn't look into and what you should. You know what I mean? It's almost like they're giving you orders of how to think. Where alternative media is what you said, Garland or one of your shows. You'll do a show, but you're saying to people, watch it and try to analyze it and figure it out for yourselves. Do you think that's a big difference between traditional media and alter? Maybe the biggest difference.
I know
Good.
why they do that. Like, because it's more easier to control stupid. I'm sorry, stupid. All right, not stupid, but unaware. Not. They're trying to make people stupid, to not analyze and stuff. I didn't mean to be rude, but I mean it's easier to control that crowd, right? Than the crowd that are thinking, considering, and like, no, you're fooling me. I'm gonna analyze that media and that media, and I'll figure it out myself. Like, it's important to me. I don't want to think that um I don't know, that when they blame someone in media, and I have to believe that, and I have to feel some negative feelings towards that person or country. Why should I? Like, yeah, they're giving people wrong thoughts that they could feel wrong feelings, negative, some towards, like, maybe towards China or some other country. And that's the point. Like, they're trying to create conflict in your mind. Like, is that true or not? I'm confused. I don't know what to think. Like, what's happening? So it's, and when two countries are like, why I have to be angry at other country and at people, like, I don't know, let's just for an example, let's, what country, I don't know,
You
all
look,
right,
you could
let's
name,
India,
you could,
like,
yeah, you could name in the United States, it's so simplistic because they'll give us basically, it's almost like a list. Well, let's see, there's Russia, there's China, there's Iran, there's North Korea, there's Venezuela. You know, it's almost like they have this list that your brain is supposed to just, as soon as you hear any of those countries, you're supposed to say, oh, they're the bad guys. You know what I mean? It's,
yeah,
and
why
once they
there's
give you
always have
this,
to be a
go
bad
ahead, go ahead.
guy?
What's that?
Yeah, why there's always have to be a bad guy, right? So they're like pointing fingers. That's what they're doing. um what my thought is that people, they should really think of what they want, what they truly want, how they see future for our world, for our kids, for future generations. Like, it's the important thing to ask yourself. Ask yourself. And after you get the answer, you should analyze and think, should I listen to that or to that? Like, if you want peace, act like it. Like, act like it. Act nicely, like, with kind, and don't make conclusions out of fake news or out of something, even war. All right, let's take for example war or a conflict between, I don't know, Israel and Palestine. Like, I don't think that they're bad or they're bad. I think they're all just people. They're all good people. I don't have any negative feelings towards Palestinians or Israeli people. I don't have it because I strive for peace. There's peace in within me. Like, I want peace. They should just talk. They should figure their issues out, and they have to understand there's nothing to fight about. There's nothing to fight about. There's nothing belongs to us in this world. Let's take it from there. Like, nothing belongs to us. We just should live in peace and harmony. That's the goal all people should have.
So,
And traditional media, they will never be objective. They just, that's not their goal.
and I'll also say this to some extent, are we using the wrong word now when we even refer to them as media? You know, because when you say media, it kind of implies that they're trying to cover things, that they're trying to report on issues, right? When I think of media, I think, okay, and you know, the way the news was what may be at one time where you turn on the news and there's a fire and they're like, oh, there's a fire here, and you watch the news, or there's a whatever, you know, there's a plane crash and they show you that, right? Where the traditional media, traditional news covered this or that, or things happened. I would always say, what, aren't there any fires anymore? Isn't there a flood somewhere? Show me something that happened. That used to be the news. Now it's not really news. It's like all of it is political. You know what I mean? I turn on the so-called news, and instead of showing me a fire or a flood or something like that, it's, well, this party is doing this and this leader of this country is doing that and he shouldn't do it. And let me bring on, and then they always bring on somebody from the government. And I'm like, and then they supposedly interview someone from the government, but they don't question them. They'll say, now we're going to bring on so-and-so from the government. And then they'll just say, what do you think? And they'll put a microphone in his face or her face, and then the person from the government says whatever they're going to say, and they don't question. They don't say, "Well, what about this?" or "I don't know if that."
Yeah.
No, they just say, "Well, we know that's true because this person from the government just told us it was true. So everyone out there, we should all believe that, and nobody question it. And if you question it, you're wrong." You know, are we even using the wrong word when we call these people who are nothing but mouthpieces for the government or whatever corporation? Are they even really media? I think that's part of it. I don't, or at least news. They're not news programs. If I'm just trying to convince you that everything the government tells you in my country is correct and that you should do what you're told and never question them, that's not news. Daria.
That's a good point, Garland. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. The traditional media. I don't know if we can call our channels like alternative media. We're more than media. We're a platform. We're a community. Like we're trying to create something more than that. And speaking about traditional media, they're always negative. Have you noticed that? There's always negative, like news or something they're trying to um,
They're trying to scare
put
you.
on
You ever
there.
notice
It's
that?
always,
They're always trying to make you afraid of something. Well, you have
yeah,
to do
that's the
this
point.
because
It's
ISIS is or
always
some
negative.
terrorist, yeah, it's going to come get you, or this other country is going to attack us and invade us, or something. They're always trying to keep us frightened, afraid, on edge. They never, I don't think it's healthy. I don't know about you, but in media, I think it's important when everybody's afraid, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I think it is important for people like us to say, look, calm down, get yourself together. Let's talk about it. Let's try to figure out what's going on. And it seems to me that the traditional news, it's the opposite. It's turn up the volume, frighten people, scare people even more, make us anxious and stressed out.
And that's why people are often afraid to speak because they're frightened of the traditional media and they're afraid to speak and to express their thoughts. Like I know these people, these kind of people who just like, I think I'm not going to participate in an interview because I'm afraid to share my thoughts because of the political situation, about because of the government, because of the news. Like I had not much, but there are people that are afraid to speak. So, and this moves us to a freedom of speech. Let's talk about that. Like, all right, where's the freedom of speech in the U.S.? Is it exist? Does it exist? Where's the freedom of speech?
Well, here's
Show
the
me.
issue. Um, it's just like we have freedom of speech in the US in the same way, and in the West period, in the same way that we have democracy. As long as it does not inconvenience the ruling elite, they will give you the illusion that you have democracy. I mean, look what's happening right now. I could go from country after country in Europe where the people in the country would say, vote for someone, and the leaders of the country would say, well, we don't like that person. No, sorry. So they have the illusion of democracy until such time as, like, they'll say, you can pick any candidate you want. And the people who all vote for a candidate, they'll say, oh, no, but not that one. Well, if I can pick any candidate I want, how can you tell me I can't pick this one, right? That means I don't have democracy. I only have democracy, the illusion of democracy, as long as it doesn't inconvenience or cause a problem for the people in power. The same way with freedom of speech. In the US, they say we have freedom of speech. And as soon as I start saying the things that the government doesn't like, whoa, time out. There, we've got a problem. So they give us, like so many other things, I think, in the West, and that is this. We get the illusion of democracy. We get the illusion of freedom of speech. But as soon as they get scared, as soon as I put it like this, if I say the government's doing wonderful things, great, good work, Garland, keep it up. As soon as I say I don't trust the government, I think they're lying. Whoa, time out. The freedom of speech is to say the thing. It's like the news media has freedom of speech because they can say whatever they want. We don't, because if we say things they don't like. So in a lot of ways, in a lot of countries, what we're given by the people in power is an illusion, whether it's the illusion of freedom, the illusion of freedom of speech, the illusion of all of these things, until it inconveniences them, until it causes them a problem, and then they're going to yank the rug out from under us. Your thoughts
I
on
would
that?
say it's like a choice without a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Even this, you were right. They tell you have a choice, but you don't really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
trust
you have a
never.
choice. Oh, great, I have a choice. Yeah, but as long as you only pick that one, we've got A or B. You can choose A or B as long as you choose A. What happens if I
Right.
choose B? You have a choice to choose B as long as you choose A. And you're like, I thought I could choose A or B. You can, just as long as you choose A. And you realize it's all a lie, it's an illusion. And we have in our Constitution, they say freedom of speech. Yet we have people that get um, in lots of trouble because they say things that the government doesn't like. And I think that our um, let me put it a different way. I think it's hard. What you're doing is important, and let me tell you why. You've got a small channel. You have only been around for a year, but you've got some. You're growing, and you're doing what you can do. But here's what I think is important: if there were only one or two of these YouTube or Rumble channels or whatever, it would be easy for them. They just shut them down. I think it's important because there are so many of us. They can't shut them all down. You know what I mean? There's so many out here, and they're growing. And every time they shut one down, two more pops up. And that's why I think it is important for projects such as yours. You've just started, it's a small channel, but you believe in what you're doing. But the fact that that's one more alternative media, every time there's one, it's a lot easier to shut down one than it is 10. And then it's even harder when there's 100. And then it's even harder when there's 1,000. So every one that grows, every time there's a new one, like I said, like yours, it makes it a little easier for all of the rest of the channels like mine that may be larger channels. But it's harder for them to take us all out at one time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, I think all channels, like all small channels, like yours and mine. Oh, yours not small actually. I think we should collaborate, like,
Mm-hmm.
and support each other for that. And I'm not afraid if they're gonna shut down all the, I know, YouTube and Rumble. Like, they can try, but we're not gonna give up. Like, there's nothing that can stop us. I want to move on. I want to meet other people from other countries. I want to unite people. That's my goal, and I'm gonna move on. So they should know that.
Well, I used to teach criminal justice. One of the terms, I won't get into why, but one of the terms that I taught, it was something called enterprise theory, right? And I would teach that about drug dealers. They'd go arrest a drug dealer, and then another one would just go take his place. And basically, the argument being this: if people want something, if people are willing, if they want something, if they're willing to buy, let's say I make whatever, a mousetrap, and people want that. If people want something, you may stop that person, but somebody else will come in and provide it because it's something that people want. And based on the enterprise theory, if they shut down a bunch of YouTube channels, the fact of the matter is there are people that want to watch alternative news. And as long as there's somebody that wants to watch alternative news, someone will find a way of creating alternative news for them to watch. You know what I mean? That it's
Yeah.
not like my channel's not on because I like to run my mouth. In a way, it is because that's the only reason I started doing this, because I got stuff to say. I run my mouth, and hey, if somebody listens, fine. If they don't, fine. But that's not the reason that I'm on. In fact, YouTube is doing everything they can to censor me and stop people from seeing it. The reason my channel is on is because of those people in the chat. Because those people in the chat want to see something other than a bunch of people telling them that war is great and we should have more wars. So I think alternative media is created by the people in the chat right now, by the people who are the listeners and the viewers, by the people that are out there saying, I want to see something different. Because if you think about it, if there was nobody to watch our channel, we couldn't do anything. You know what I mean? It's created by the demand. That's it. The demand that people have, the thirst that people have for something different other than just the same old propaganda and government lies that they're hearing. Your thoughts?
Well, I had a thought. I lost it.
No,
No.
that's okay.
Actually, these channels are, people needs this channel because there's enough rubbish on the internet. Like, there's a lot of bunch of stuff, but they're not. They don't have a good quality, and they're just messing with your mind, and like you're gonna just, like, what you watch and what you learn and what you read and how you act, how you think. It's what you put inside your mind, right? Like, I don't want junk in my mind. I don't want it.
Right.
So I don't watch junk. Like, I don't watch entertainment, like funny videos or something. It's really rarely what I do. I don't have any time for that. Like, I don't have any time. I have to do that and this and other stuff for my project. I wanted to grow, but it's not like I'm not like racing to have more followers, viewers. I'm here for people who really needs this, who really wants this, like your channel, my channel. If you really need this, you're interested, you're welcome here. If you're not interested, I'm not insisting you, right? It's your choice, but it's has to be a wise choice. You have to think like, is it really good? Is it, do I need that? Like I think that's how people should really think about our channels. And really, it's it's important to analyze what you watch, what you
Let
put
me.
in here.
Yes, and here's so we're getting towards the end, but I'll say this: the term you keep using is analyze, and it's critical because I have a guy, Dr. Jim Kavanaugh, that comes on regular, and he came up with a phrase that is critical. I think is important, and the phrase he says is the crisis of epistemology. And what does he mean by that? Epistemology, critical thinking. How do you know that to be true? If I say something to you, well, Daria, this guy's a bad guy, or whatever, there's a question. Why should I believe you, Garland? And how do you know that, right? Critical thinking. I can tell you anything. But in the mainstream media, the question of how do you know that to be true? Why should I believe you? Right? And I think when we talk about alternative media, if I turn on your channel and someone says, well, this is true and that's true, there's a question. Why should I believe you? And how do you know that? Can you give it's one thing to just say, this is true, but do I give you something that it proves it? You know what I mean? And with mainstream media, it's like this. This is true. Assad is a dictator, and this guy's a dictator, and that guy's a dictator. And I'm supposed to believe that. But critical thinking would mean, okay, so you told me that that person is a dictator. Yes. Why should I believe that? How do I know that's true? Because with traditional media, it's just like this. Trust me. The BBC says that guy's a dictator. Well, why should I believe it? Trust me. Just trust me. And I think with alternative media, with the things we're doing, it is a couple of things. It's number one, if we tell people something, we try to explain this is why I believe it. Right? If I say, hey, this guy's good, bad, or indifferent, this is going on. This country should or shouldn't be doing this. And rather than just throw it out there, I'm going to say, now let me give you a little history as to why that's true or false. And I've had people say this to me. I do radio in Washington, D.C. I have a radio show this evening. And I've had people say, why should I believe you? And my answer is, you shouldn't. You should not believe me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I could be a liar, a fraud, a propagandist. Oh, you should not believe me. If I say something and you question it, and that should inspire you to say, well, Garland said that and I don't trust him. I'm going to go try to look it up myself. As you said, I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to try to find further information. I think Garland is wrong about this. And if you find out that I'm wrong, present that information back to me. Well, Garland, you said that happened in 1863. I've just researched and I found out that it happened in 1864. And I can say, thank you. I appreciate you correcting me. So I think that's the other big part of social media is we don't try to be the authority. Well, not we, but I think it's important not to try to be the authority on everything. So you're telling everybody what's right or wrong. I think with alternative media, what we're trying to do is just give people an idea of what's going on and inspire people to think, inspire people to research and look out for themselves and make their own decisions. What do you think?
Definitely, that's a good point. But our channel is a little bit different. Like, we we don't insist, we don't teach people like this is right, this is wrong. No, we have a lot of different perspectives. We're asking people of their opinion, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, thanks. So we're asking people. We're just look stop there. Like we have interview with a person who knows really like good stuff about maybe down a little. I'm gonna show that. Look,
Oh,
could you go down? Yeah, scroll down. Yeah, more, a little bit more. Stop there, please. Here's what you don't know about the history of the Palestinian Israeli conflict. That's like for example, let's take that interview. Why that's a good interview? Because it's his perspective, right? But he's he has knowledge and he's sharing with us, with the people, about that topic. Like, I know this and that. People are not like, let's say white people have a lot of questions and they don't trust traditional media because they don't have knowledge, right? They don't know, they're not aware, they didn't read the history of the Palestinian Israeli conflict, they don't know nothing about it. So that's the point. Points News uh, gives that opportunity to take something from that, some knowledge or just other perspective to know what's going on. And people are sharing their thoughts, but we don't insist what we're here for is not only to describe not only to um, discuss the news, but only and listen to other perspectives on different topics, like not only political, right? That's not the most essential topic. It is essential because that's what's going on right now. It's all political games, but we have other topics as well. Like let's take psychology, right? Self development. Like there's people who activists who is participating in our interviews to help other people, to support them, so people would like, I don't know, watch some videos. Actually, all of our interviews, like, they're so inspiring, and I get inspired through the screen. Like, it's really awesome. Like, that's what I love. It motivates me, and I see those videos, they're inspiring for to other people as well, because they're really the person that's sitting in front of me, he's inspiring, he's showing something new, he's sharing his thoughts, he's being supportive, he's saying trying to say some good stuff to people, and that's what unites us. Like, that's what it really needs. This world needs more kindness, right? It really needs more kindness. And I'm really like, it's my pleasure to talk with each of our participants because they're really kind persons. Um, they're kind, they're supportive, they're sharing their views. And yeah, we have experts, we have people that are really like, I wasn't aware of some parts of the history of the Palestinian Israeli conflicts, for example. And I did learn, like, I interviewed and I learned, and like, oh wow, I really didn't know that. Like, that's what's going on, really? But I read that on social media. Oh, that's not right. Huh, let me think. Let me analyze, right? So that's what's going on when you watch our videos. That's like, it makes you think, it makes you analyze, and it inspires you as well. So that's the good part.
well, thank you very much, Daria. Certainly appreciate it. And as I said, I wish when I was 25, I had the the knowledge and inspiration and drive that you had at that. I was just a crazy, not a crazy person, but you know what it was? it was just fun. Everything was about fun. The life was about fun. And I didn't stop to think about being a part of, changing, making a change. And I think it's important. And that's why I thought it was important for me to bring you on to support your channel, to let people see what you're doing. So as I said, it is, let me show everybody one more time.
Thank
Oops.
you. Thank you for
Show,
supporting.
yeah, I'll show everybody one more time. That would be Points News. 562 subscribers and 99 videos. You've got a Facebook page. So I certainly, I commend you on the great work that you're doing. And, let me just say your English is great. I might have to enlist you to help me sometime. I'm stumbling on my words more often than not. But, thanks for everybody in the chat for hanging out. And Daria, you're doing a fantastic job, and keep up the good work. And we are all inspired. I am particularly inspired, like I said, when I run into people who are in their 20s, who are trying to do things to change the world, to trying to do things that make a difference. I'm inspired by that, and I think it's critical. And we thank you very much, everybody in my chat, all our dear friends in the chat. They thank you also. Everyone, don't forget, share this on all your social media platforms, and enjoy it, and post it. And if you can, if you're of a mind to, certainly your choice. If you want to subscribe, go over to Points News and subscribe, and you can check out the good work Daria does. As she said, they do a lot of different stuff, and they do a lot of stuff covering the film industry. Here's one, healing through the film industry. So they do that kinds of stuff. So you'll really enjoy it. Daria, thanks much. And everyone,
Thanks a lot. I
enjoy
encourage
yourself.
everyone to stay positive and stay updated with us. Thank you, Garland. It was really good to talk.